in Ferguson, Missouri. We're just at the Quick Trip station that's been burned down. It's ground zero for the protest, for those that are not familiar with the situation. Earlier today, a state of emergency was issued.
Stop videotaping, let's grab our stuff and go.
2 journalists covering the story in Ferguson, Missouri arrested as chaos continues with SWAT teams using tear gas.
Okay, those are just a couple of examples of the video and reporting on the Ferguson shooting that have popped up on social media in the last week. Social media has given us a new and expanded way of getting and sharing news. Joining me today for our social media panel is our own James Mahan and Megan O'Day from Lamppost Group. And I think the real question here is, how has social media changed the whole news industry?
I'd say that the primary thing that I've noticed in the role Twitter is playing and Facebook in ongoing events like Ferguson is that the people who are directly involved actually have a voice in discussing and explaining what's happening to them and to their communities. And these are often people who are traditionally not invited into conversations through publications or professionally. And it's really amazing that they get to have a voice. And I see a lot of the time in online discussions, people trying to co-opt them and say, well, we have to wait for the facts. We have to wait for this to be proven. And sort of denying these people their opportunity for storytelling and experience when, in fact, that's one of the most true things that we could be hearing, and we get it direct from the source.
It allows the people to really help tell that story, and it allows them to be interactive with news like they've never have before. I know for James and I as journalists, this is really, really unique, and this is we utilize this a lot, social media.
Citizen journalism
absolutely
is what's changed and transformed. The last 4 years, we've seen everyone with an iPhone or Android have the ability to tell their own story. And in something like Ferguson, everyone can bring video and pictures, and as we know in television, we can tell 1,000 words of pictures and video that you can't do with words. And that's what social media has allowed us to do, to share a picture that will change the way someone looks at a situation.
And then we as reporters, we can take those pictures, those images, and even some statements that people have made, and we can put that in our newscast, and we can tell a much broader story than we ever were able to. We can even find stories that way. If you look at Facebook, a lot of times you'll see things that have been shared, hundreds of thousands of times, and that all of a sudden says to us as reporters, hey, this is a story. This is something that needs to be told. This is something that our viewers care about.
Exactly. I'm a columnist, and I wouldn't ever describe myself as a journalist, but I've found it really helpful getting to use things like social media and those opportunities for people to share their stories to include voices in my work and use my platform as a way to share people's point of view that I heard about through social media who might not otherwise get an opportunity to be heard by a wide audience. And I think that's especially important in cases like Ferguson, where so much of the issue is a sense of disenfranchisement and a sense of being ignored and unheard.
Absolutely.
We've seen this before with the WikiLeaks scandal. The ability to live stream, where you can just have an app on your phone and you can create your own channel where you're creating content and delivering content out into the world, it means that anyone can provide live video from a situation, whether it's an armed robbery, whether it's something like Ferguson where there's a little bit of racial conflict, or whether it's something really different like a tornado, or in the case of WikiLeaks where you've got just folks on the ground with their cell phones providing live video of what's happening right there and then. And that takes people away from not waiting for the traditional newscast, because now we're in a world where people want it now, and they want it quick, and they want it in little bite sizes where they can just devour it.
And sometimes I wonder if that really was the full goal of Twitter, was to be a news source, because it really has become that. And we were joking about this earlier, James, but there's a power of that hashtag. And I want to point to our iPad. Well, I don't think we can pull up our iPad right now, but if you don't understand a hashtag, you can look at a hashtag, it has a word behind it, and then you can click on that word and you can see everyone in the world that is talking about that subject. Hashtag Ferguson. You can see everyone that's talking about it. We recently saw this with the death of Robin Williams. Everyone came together. Hashtag rest in peace, Robin Williams. Everyone could talk about that, share their feelings, and really unite in a way that they never have before.
We also thought about trending as something to do with like musical interests, but now trending is what's happening around us in our world, and a lot of it's based on geography. So we see what happens in Nashville, we see what happens in Chattanooga, what happens in Knoxville, and for us it shows that social media and the power of social media is in our hands.
Absolutely. All right, thanks James and thanks Megan so much for joining us. We're going to be right back with more Prime News after the break.